The last couple of years, the recent years, they always have, I guess it's a tradition on Thanksgiving, conveniently, to have Cowboys versus the Indians. And, a lot of people are hip to what that really represents. And it basically represents the genocide of the Native Americans, melanated people, by the Europeans. So that's basically what many believe the team, Indians and the Cowboys, represent whenever they play on Thanksgiving. I mentioned that some of these games are rigged and scripted for certain teams to win. Either, they will bring them all the way to the playoffs, or to get a certain team into Super Bowl for their storyline, or for Vegas to make money. It's really interesting watching how people react to, these sports games and so forth. It's a lot of emotions involved, and it can get really to the point where people can become violent with each other. And that's why I say, sports is just another distraction, another tool that is used to play on people's emotions and to get people to react a certain way. The game between Dallas and Redskins, that game was like hilarious to watch because it was so obvious. You have the refs that just sit there, and clearly right in front of them you can see a foul occurring right in front of the refs, and they're just like looking at it and not even calling it. Basically, you have the refs now playing the game for a specific team. So it's funny that people can see it, but then they don't see it. It's hilarious to me. So anyway, it is really sad that in order for these teams or these players, instead of them using their real God-given talent to win games, they are now just professional actors. Some of these plays are choreographed. Okay, so they're professionals at that. That's what they're good at now, which is really sad. And another thing I noticed, that they sometimes will reveal who is going to win a game in like different shows or in commentaries prior to games. The first time I noticed this occurred was with 49ers and the Seahawks. Now, I was just happened to be watching the show with Tom Brady, that comedian guy who's funny black guy. I think his name is Tom Brady. What is his name? His name is Brady. His last name is Brady. I might be getting the first names messed up, but he's a funny black guy, and he now hosts this game show where they, dress up in all these weird costumes and ridiculous costumes, and they sit in the audience, and then they wait for their names to hopefully be called, and when their names are called, they play games to win prizes like boats and cars and so forth. Well, it so happened one time I was watching, and this was on, I think, the same day that the 49ers and the Seahawks were going to play. I was watching the game show, and this guy, they called this guy down, and he was a 49ers fan, supposedly. I think he was dressed in the 49ers jersey. And the game basically was for him to, guess who's going to make it to the red zone, get a touchdown first. And it was between his team, 49ers, and the Seahawks. He was rooting for, obviously, the 49ers because he was a 49ers fan. So he was, picking all the 49ers, whatever team thing that they had on the show to win the game. And he ended up losing the game to the Seahawks. So the Seahawks moved up on their board. They had this board where they were moving the players and stuff. And the Seahawk won and got the touchdown on the board. And the guy, he was like devastated, whatever, because he lost all this money. And he, went back into the audience and whatever, and so forth. So I was thinking, interesting. It'll be very interesting if this was foreshadowing the 49ers losing to the Seahawks. Sure enough, that's what happened. And I was like, interesting. Now, it happened again recently, and I didn't realize it until I was watching this video. This guy was talking about the Cowboys, whatever. And it popped in my head on yesterday, earlier in the day before the game started, The commenters, they were talking, and then they cut to a little skit that they were doing on the road, and they were making fun of the old quarterback, Michael. I think his name is Michael. He was on this talk show with this white lady. I can't remember her name. He has the gap between his teeth. They were making fun of him at the end of the skit. So anyway, the skit involved a truck of this other commentator. He was dressed up in some type of costume as well, but I can't remember what he was dressed as. But he was on the back of a truck, and there were two people on the truck with him. And one of the person that was on a truck with him was a little boy, and the little boy was dressed as in a cow costume, like he was dressed as a cow. And the other guy that was in the truck, he was dressed as like a prisoner or a thief or something, but he was like in prison outfit, I believe. And so you had this little boy in a cow costume and another guy who was dressed like a thief or criminal. And the sports commentator that was on the truck with these two individuals in their costumes, he turned to his right and he was like, "Oh, right here we have a cowboy." And he was referring to the little boy who was dressed as a cow. So I was like, that's funny. And then he turned to his left, where the other guy was dressed as a thief or whatever, a criminal. And he was like, "And this is a stealer." And they always started laughing, laughing and so forth at the punt or the joke. And I was like, hilarious. And I didn't realize it till today. That skit came to my mind, like, oh my gosh, they just basically gave away the winners in that skit. Cowboys and the Steelers won yesterday. Very interesting. And a normal person watching that, they're like, that's funny, and they didn't realize, and they wouldn't realize, that, oh my gosh, they just gave away the winners for the games. And I just find it so funny now. It's like entertaining to me. Just as it's entertaining to the NFL people and ESPN, that they find it entertaining. It's so obvious that these games are scripted and people notice it. Like, subconsciously you could tell, like, wait a minute, why didn't that get called? Why did the ref miss that? It was right in front of his face. When you start seeing stupid stuff like that, yeah, it's obviously the game is being thrown in a different direction. And Dallas won because it was thrown. They didn't win because they had the best players or anything like that. They're winning based on the script written for them to win. And it's to benefit, Las Vegas in the end. Now you have people, saying Dallas will be the one to make it to the playoffs. It looks like they just might be the team to make it to the playoffs. Will they go far to the Super Bowl? A lot of people have Super Bowl dreams for Dallas. Again, I believe they're Las Vegas money team, that there will be an upset with them, and Vegas is going to make a whole lot of money off of Dallas. So, I just find it really sad and funny at the same time. And so I think that's basically what I wanted to talk about in regards to the NFL and scripted games. And we'll continue to watch this whole charade circus continue until Super Bowl arrives and we see who's going to be the team in the Super Bowl. Again, some people are now thinking this might be the Patriots and Dallas, but I'm like, those are the hyped up teams, so I don't think they're going to have two hyped up teams in the Super Bowl, because they're not going to get much from that. Sports, politics, it all works together for the same common goal. And this is why ESPN lost a lot of their subscription. I think over 1 million people dropped ESPN subscriptions, like a ton of people. This happened because people are noticing it's scripted and fake, and they're noticing the manipulation going on with ESPN, and they're also offended by the whole blending politics with sports. But it's always been that way. It's just now people are starting to wake up and starting to see it, becoming more and more obvious that sports and politics go hand in hand. Sports, politics, Hollywood, the music industry, that's why you see all these people join up together and all partaking in politics. It's all politics.